Hey, it's Chris. What do we got going on this week? Well, we knew some big ones were coming, right? We got the Dice Throne. We got The Witcher. And a few other surprises popped up out of the blue along the way. What else are we going to do this week? Well, I'm probably going to piss people off. Because, well, I have a few strong opinions about a couple of these games that isn't maybe going to sit well with fan bases. Interested? Intrigued? Let's go. Speaking of pissing people off, let's start off with Marvel Dice Throne, the X-Men with co-op missions and Deadpool. Ooh, Facebook group was all over this thing when it launched. A little bit of a variety, always some spicy takes on there, and people just can't help themselves about insulting other people's choices when it comes to this. We're going to talk about this one, though. We're going to talk about this because the next game, right after this, I'm going to make a comparison to that people also aren't going to like. This is an absolute freaking metric ton of fun. You didn't think I was going to say fun there, did you? It's also way overpriced for the stuff that you're getting. Now, again, I'm going to put a caveat there. There's an asterisk there, right? Because this is, all of a sudden, I feel like for me, a little bit of jumping the shark. A little bit of jumping the shark with how much money we're paying for add-ons. We saw, and I rightly raked very gently over the coals, Steamforge, when they put out, Elden Ring, part of Elden Ring, for the price of a PlayStation 5, right? Essentially, if you want to buy Dice Throne, get all the Dice Throne goodies, it's going to cost you a PlayStation 5 now. How do you feel about that? Before you know anything about this. Now, I'm not going to make the argument. This is Battle Yahtzee, right? I am a fan of Battle Yahtzee. So before you get your pitchforks raised and your torches in the other hand and come at me in the comment section and say, Chris is a hater, I love this game. My kids love this game. But there is no way on God's green earth that I am spending $500 on this. Folks, where's the lie? I love the X-Men. X-Men are my sweet spot. I've said that with Marvel United. I've said that, well, maybe I haven't said that as much as Marvel Legendary, but that's one of the few expansions I have for Marvel Legendary before it went out of print. I spoiled on my video talking about all 8 of these characters. I said some of them look better to me than others. I'm okay with that. Cyclops always seems to get the short end of the stick no matter what game, movie, show, comic he is in. He is the leader and is the most neutered oftentimes, right? Psylocke looks cool, Storm looks overpowered, Jean Grey looks kind of awesome in terms of flipping back and forth between the Dark Phoenix. It is what it is, right? Roll 3 times, play your cards, attack the other person, last one standing, King of the Hill style wins. You're getting missions here going up against X-Men and Marvel Universe. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Is it gonna get me away? Is it gonna, make me more interested than Dice Throne Adventures? It appears to be different than Adventures, I would assume by the different name. Solo, co-op, mission, objectives, henchman, and boss. Okay, how different is it? I don't know. I've never played Adventures, but they give you the setup right here that everything you need to know. It's not any different necessarily the rules wise. There's a few keywords obviously you're getting with X-Men. And here was the one mystery box, right? Deadpool. Now, this is where we start to get a little contentious. This is also where it starts to be an interesting, I can't speak to all of the decisions from a business standpoint in the background. This is only the deluxe version. And people are like, oh, it's fine, Chris. Well, it only comes with the, the deluxeifications in terms of the miniature right here. And what else does it come with? The acrylic tokens and the sleeves. So you cannot, let me focus on this part. You cannot get it without, and the argument should be made that, if you don't want the deluxeified things, hopefully get them at retail later. And then the question is with Roxley, like we see with Radlands, which is hiding somewhere back there behind Adventure Realms, of the different levels available and the retail level available for Radlands, which was like $19 at retail. So that's great. And I just hope that there's a Deadpool version of this. Because my fear, right, and let's scroll down to the side here for the second, right? Deadpool is $25 alone. People are like, oh, it's Deadpool. That's kind of cool. It's deluxe. $25 just makes sense. Wait a second. The most expensive characters right now, if you buy a 2-pack at retail, are $15 each. That's $10 for the deluxifications, which again, on the scheme of things, those deluxifications are going to cost you more than $10. Not going to make that argument. But I don't want to pay $10 extra because now all of a sudden, if you're like me and you're looking at this right here, Marvel Dice Throne missions, or you're looking at the limited edition battle chest, or you're looking at the gameplay level, which is still $170. None of those have the matching acrylics or miniatures. And so that is the disconnect I have there, right? If I get this right here, the all-in gameplay, new gameplay here, it's going to leave me with stuff that doesn't match. You're going to have one Deadpool miniature, acrylics, and a little coin with some Deadpool sleeves. That doesn't match anything else in there. Now, that may not bother you, but I can guarantee you there's going to be 10 people for every one person that doesn't bother in the comment section saying, I need all my sleeves to match and they need to be character specific and I need to have all the, FOMOing Dice Throne playmats that they're offering here too. And that's where you get to the higher level of stuff. $259, all of the Marvel stuff, and then $450 freaking dollars. And they a la mode it down here, and you can break that down however you want to and whatever you want. But yeah, it doesn't even save you money if you want to get Deadpool later, right? You're still looking at $159 for the other two. So you're almost, I don't want to say forced, but Deadpool is only going to cost you $10 in this, which means that I hate this. Buy more to save more. No, that just drives me crazy. I really wanted to get all the new gameplay content, and now I'm really torn, right? Because really, it's a promo pack. And the promo packs are cool, but they're absolutely unnecessary at all levels in all games. There's your other hot take of this video. So I have no idea what I'm going to do. I said last week I was going to be all in if the price was right. The price isn't horrible. I'm not opposed to paying $150 or $760, right? But it's that just not as consumer friendly model in that sense that they want you to spend the extra $10 to have stuff that doesn't match. Because inevitably, folks, businesses are not your friends. Businesses are businesses first. Then maybe they're looking at the consumer, but it is always business first, period. You know also why this is done from a marketing standpoint, right? It's just because they're going to have some people that are going to FOMO, and they're going to say, well, if I have the one Deadpool miniature and I have the one with the sleeves, well, I'm going to have to get the other miniatures and the other sleeves to match. And then you make the money, because as with all businesses, board game wise, expansion, deluxifications are where the better margin profit wise is. Period. That's not me. That's businesses and marketing people saying that across the board. So that's the problem. I might be able to resist temptation, but I guarantee you're going to have, again, for every one of me, 10 people FOMOing from that sense. And I love Deadpool, although it's kind of weird that they actually put a rating on him. I don't know if you saw that up in the graphic above. It's like, like they do the TV graphics, like, age 14 under appropriate or not appropriate. Like they actually put a 14 on him. So they must be having something in here that's slightly not age suitable for younger kids, if you will. And I love the idea of X-Men. Like, this is going to be hard for me not to get this $169 pledge level, folks. I am going to speak outside both my mouths. Like, I'm going to be critical of it, but I'm also going to have a hard time passing on it. And that is the dilemma here. And I hate that. I hate that. I do. And you run through a little bit of everything else. And don't get me wrong. I mean, these are kind of cool. But I don't think I want to pay that much money, because, again, you're going to have people that are going to say, well, I'll get it for this. Oh, but then I got to have the ones that are matching for this. And then how much more money is that as a whole? Premium sleeves, the other promo packs that they've been offering, collapsible dice trays, all of the FOMO playmats. Yeah, right? So you're going to have it by the middle of next year, the end of next year. So that's fine. But if you don't want the pre-painted miniatures and you don't care about promos, like with most Roxley campaigns, it's okay to pass on too. Because the battle chest, it's going to be a battle chest. But, you're probably also going to get it for less if you buy them individually later. That's all included in the battle chest, right? Those 8 heroes. Missions, I have no clue. Deadpool, meh. But overall, not quite the value I was hoping for. Value for sure in other people's eyes. Again, that's where people are going to disagree with me in the comment section. Oh, sorry, I forgot about the $600 pledge there. I'm sorry. That's $600, folks. You know, this better be the best, most played game in your collection for that much money. No qualms about saying that. Again, I'm saying that whether it's this, Frosthaven, Aeon Trespass Odyssey, Kingdom Death, anything in that ilk, it better be, right? Marvel Legendary, if you spent $600 on that game. Marvel United. Well, I can say Marvel United as a, looking in the mirror is one of my most played games in our collection from a kid's standpoint. That's not a kid's game. So I can justify that a little bit. Not for the third one that hasn't come yet. But anyway, we're done talking about me. Now, one last note, side note here, because, there is the element of FOMO with this. They have made it very clear that, in the Facebook group, that Deadpool is probably not going to come to retail at all. It's definitely no plan for the non-deluxified version. So there's some FOMO. And if you're familiar with Dice Throne Adventures, that didn't really hit retail at all either at the time of me filming this. So Missions is looking like a, crowdfunding aspect only, as well as Deadpool. So do you care if your stuff doesn't match? Are you going to use those miniatures? Are you going to use those miniatures in Dice Throne Adventures? Or are they just going to sit next to your player board and give you some bling about as useful as the upcoming ones we'll talk about with The Witcher Path of Destiny? There you go. I told you I was going to piss people off this week. Now, again, Molly House over to Backer Kit, because very strikingly similarities. You have a lot of people going in based off of Whirligig's reputation. Cole Whirly, great reputation as a designer, right? PAX Premier, John Company, they throw the accolades down below on this page, and they say this is going to be a different type of social deduction-esque game, betrayal, in, what is it, 1800s London, essentially. But this is where I have the trouble, right? Like, people are going to comment and say, and agree with me and disagree with me, but also, agree that in some senses, right? Like, those are way over deluxified Dice Throne, right? As a game that is literally all you're doing is cards and dice rolling. Then you're going to criticize and agreeably, say that miniature games are overpriced and that is super deluxified. I'm going to make the comment right here that this one is staying true with both of those themes. You're getting 100 cards with a board, a few resin pieces, and a few tokens, and you're paying $60 for that. $60 for essentially 100 cards plus tokens, folks. Not saying anything about the pedigree. I'm not saying anything about the gameplay. But you can't argue that that's very expensive, comparatively. Very. Again, if you want to pay it, not saying anything wrong. But if you don't think board game inflation is real, especially after these last two campaigns right here, I have some bad news for you, right? The other issue I have with this one is, it gives you sort of the briefest overview of what you're doing here as a semi-cooperative, potentially traitor-ish, but also with a policing matter as you go through about it. And you're going to be able to reconstruct this community back from the day, dealing with the police and the society trying to stamp down on aberrant, as they say here, or in other terms, behaviors that are not of the norm. Idiosyncratic behavior is the term they actually use there. And they offer a few of their other add-ons and their other games here as well, which is great. But the other issue I have, right, is they talk about the gameplay here. And you're drafting cards that are going to be representing gestures, desires, and encounters that were frowned upon. But these cards can lead players to be arrested because it's going to be a little bit of a trick-taking, leading sort of game here when you're playing these cards. A collective goal that you have to meet in order for the party to be successful. But if you play wrongly, you'll have to potentially enter the cards into the other pile, which threatens the discovery of the Molly House in the first place. And constables, at the same time, are going to be patrolling. But if the constables are revealed, you have to reveal a card that is in the constable's suit to avoid persecution. Or you have to renounce and take a number of guilt tokens that's going to lower your score. And that getting arrested offers you a temptation of being an informer, but no one has to be an informer. And so you don't know until the end game. Now, you have a couple very vague impressions here. One from Board Game Geek, one from Queer Tabletops, and one from Space Biff. I love Space Biff. Absolutely fantastic writer, but I can't always tell what the gameplay is actually like and whether or not it's for me based off his writing. And so what I'm really hoping for is the rulebook, which is fine. By the time you guys view this video, the rulebook will be up, because down here, they get down to it and they say the rulebook is going to be up by the 19th, which again, I feel kind of weird that the rulebook's not up right at launch and 2 days after launch. It's kind of a strange timing. Whatever, take it for what it is. And playtesting kits are going to be a week after. So I'm always a little bit confused why designers or, companies wait to have those out until the middle of the campaign. It's a marketing thing, I guess. Again, I don't know. Because if those were absolutely essentially necessary and they wanted them out on the day of launch, they would have them out on the day of launch. They'd either have them ready or they'd delay the launch. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But we'll see, because I don't really know the gameplay flow of this. I mean, it's going to take you under an hour with sort of a Dead of Winter meets social deduction style card playing game with sets and tricks. So are you willing to pay $60 for your favorite indie designer and, plus shipping? It is what it is. I mean, John Company and PAX, right? I mean, you can make the argument right there to me, and I won't argue with you, that you're not going to get those cheaper at retail than you did during the campaigns. Fine, no problem arguing it, but 100 cards, even if you count the unique art and all of that stuff, right? That's still significantly more than even a couple years ago. So take that for what you will. There's Molly House. Whoa, okay, Witcher, Path of Destiny, first day gift. Get an awesome Geralt on his horse miniature. Miniatures. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So, big fan of Go On Board. Fan of the original Witcher game, The Old World, right? This one is taking a tableau building hand management style narrative game. And that last word that I emphasized there, put the emphasis on the right syllable, is really what you need to know about this game, because you're going to be laying down this card tableau system via a draft mechanism with your asymmetric character with several asymmetric powers that you're going to be slowly unlocking as you go along based on the symbology that you're utilizing in your tableau in front of you. You're drafting these cards and then playing 2 of them per turn. You play this over 3 rounds until you lay all your cards out each round. How you then incorporate that is, after round 1, you keep 1 card of your tableau. After round 2, you keep 2 cards of your tableau. And so those symbols that are on your tableau in the first place, you total them up as a group, and then you look at the side Destiny Adventure cards that you're flipping through round by round, because you're only pulling so many of them on a particular scenario, if you will, with the 3 main scenarios that they've shown us so far in the core game. Not to go into any expansion or stretch goal content yet. But you're going to be basically unlocking a narrative storyline that's going to influence the rules and the dynamics in some way, shape, or form. Caveat, you don't actually know what that is. And you're not going to know what those things are if you look at the game page as a whole. You're going to have to watch a couple of the videos, particularly gameplay-wise, because there's also, at least at the time of me filming this, no rule book on the page in the first place. And that's okay, but you need to know what you're getting into in that sense. It's going to be narrative with that Destiny track, and you're going to be reading through narrative cards. I watched the Go On Board video down here of the overview of the mechanics, and they show you that, and they lay it out a little bit more specifically. And it's looking like a fine game. But for $30 extra, for a tableau card-driven, in case you didn't hear me the first 2 times, game, just like we talked about just a minute ago with Molly House, that's expensive. And what are miniatures doing in Res Arcana, right? How would you feel about your Res Arcana game having miniatures? That's kind of what this is. And if you're okay with that, awesome. But if you don't necessarily need it, you just might not need it. Now, simultaneous play of your action tableau system means that the player count is going to be less important. It's going to be more fluid at the higher player counts. So that's nice. You're getting a solo upgraded mode, as well as a few different playable characters and a few different envelopes to go along with the different scenarios, as you can see here. Grain of Truth, and then we go down here to Lesser Evil, and then Striga as well. So there's going to be plenty of content to go along with it. It's just, how exclusive is some of this other envelope stuff to give some variability within these scenarios? Do you need the extra stuff with the variability? I just covered Point City. I know, right? Good comparison, Chris. The Witcher and Point City. But, the thing I found out playing the retail version of Point City was the exclusives, which were some, individual endgame scoring objectives. I didn't think that they were really adding anything significant in terms of the different function in the gameplay content. So that's what you have to ask yourself with this, as you're getting like the extra miniatures and that sort of thing. And that's fine if you want it. Lots of people want it, and that's okay. But that's what you have to ask yourself. Well, like I said here, gameplay twist. You're drawing 4 of these mission cards, your alliance cards in this one as well. And then you're going to have extra effort cards that are going to change the action tableaus and the destiny symbols on those cards in the first place there. Again, I wish there was a little bit more on the page itself. I believe, which is really interesting here, they changed the gameplay page as a whole since it launched. Before the launch, these videos were all directly linked on the page, which I was a little surprised by when I looked at it earlier tonight and did not see them on the page at all. So if you want to check this out, you actually have to go over to the gameplay page on Board Game Geek, which was not the case prior to campaign. So not sure why they changed that. Again, I love Res Arcana, right? This is my style of game, but you can buy all of Res Arcana with both expansions in the base game for less than the price this is going to cost you probably before shipped at this point too. Is it 2 expansions now or 3? I forget, but it's a great freaking game. So that's what we have to compare it to as a whole. There you go. Interesting. Gonna watch it. Gonna see where it goes. Third of the big hitters this week, we have Ezra and Nehemiah from the big hitters behind the minds of South Tigris and the West Kingdom trilogies. We have a journey into Old Jerusalem. And what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be trying to rebuild the walls, entertain the prophets, and help them sort of guide the exiles back in to learn the Torah, as well as rebuilding the temple to go along with it. And you're going to be doing that through a series of actions via cards, workers, and resources. I really want to give you a little bit more of a detailed view of this game and how it compares to the other in those previous other trilogies, but the rulebook is 40 pages long, folks. This is a worker placement Euro game with a 40-page rulebook. Look, I critique Lords of Ragnarok for having that. I'm gonna say the same thing here. Holy crap, there is a lot of rules for stuff going on. But essentially what you've got going on in this is you've got 3 big overview rounds that you're going through. And in each of these rounds, you're going to have 7 turns. The first 6 turns of that round are the work days via the Jewish custom. And then the 7th is the Sabbath, where you're going to be scoring victory points, but also having to feed your workers and deal with the consequences of the actions you sowed in the first 6 days. Now, you're going to have several different things that you're going to be doing on these individual turns. And this is where I go over and refer to the rule book. On these work days, right? Play a character card from your hand. You're going to have 4 character cards in your hand on every single turn. That's going to be the main action you're going to be taking. Then you take one of the other 3 main actions to go along with that. Draw your character card back up with sort of your little deck building, character building aspect. And then you get additional actions, including auxiliaries, using traders, and using elders. And that's where this 40-page rule book just goes on and on and on and on. It can't even load it fast enough on my computer so that you can see it. But there's a lot of text here. There's a lot of overhead. There's a lot of learning that you're going to have to do when it comes to this. So do you want this? I mean, this looks heavier than a lot of the other stuff I've seen from them recently. I don't know if it's really that heavy, but I think you have to be concerned that it is going to be that heavy. There's enough rules and video content and, you know, even gameplay if you want down here with about a dozen videos that are available. So take that for what you will. Now I need to find me a crowdfunding publisher that allows me to, you know, put my, subscription on here, or allow me to promote my Patreon on a page. That'd be awesome. And I'm just actually being a little facetious, but you know what? I'd love to get myself in a promo in a game I love. Level 99, Bullet. Talk to me later. Anyway, I don't know. They're not doing any stretch goals. They're not doing any of the other stuff that you may have expected. They have their usual metal coins. You get the little promo to go along with it. That's the main reason to back it. Legacy of You, 75 New Zealand dollars. I had to look this up and go over to Board Game Oracle. That's equivalent to about 43 US dollars. And it goes for about exactly that in the US North America retail market right now. So it's a push. So it depends on where you want to show your support if you're looking at getting any of these other games from that standpoint. But that's it. Yeah, it's gonna be delivering in about a year. So okay, take that for what it is, and there you go. Ezra and Nehemiah. Next up, Obsession Characters expansion. This one I have some kudos. I have just a small little critique here, and it's really funny, the designer up here breaking all the rules. Now I don't think you're breaking all the rules. You're just basically doing what you want, and that's completely okay. That's what these crowdfunding campaigns are. you want heavy metal coins. He says that these metal coins, basically, as you scroll down, are twice the size of other metal coins you're getting on campaigns. And you're getting the characters expansion here, which actually contains, misnomer, several modules that you'll be able to add at your liberty to the game in the first place. Whether it be more characters, little ways of adding distinguished guests or nobles within the families that are well established, either in the base game or the Wessex expansion. And they say everything is going to fit. So yeah, heavy metal coins, folks. Heavy metal coins. So if you're a purveyor of metal coins, here you go. And the price actually is surprisingly good for the metal coins too. You know, even though I don't like them personally, I also know what they cost. So I understand things both ways. And so the characters expansion here, they talk about adding 3 different characters here that you can consult and send for throughout the game. And they give you a sideboard that they're going to be taking place on. Now you scroll down further, it shows you how it interacts with the upstairs downstairs expansion and gives you the benefits there. And then it starts to show you that, well, and they refer to the 2.5-hour gameplay video as well, but this starts to show you also the other modules, distinguished family members, where you're subbing in one of these distinguished ones for one of your regular base game family members in the first place. New objectives that are permanently replace additional ones from previous expansions and base game content, new gentry, as well as new prestige guests. And so it's going to give you everything that you need to see, as well as potentially even cooperative expansion. So rulebook is there. Solo is going to be there. 12 different opponents you can potentially play as solo. I've never played this. I probably never will play this. I mean, it'd be a game where I would probably have to look really hard into this one. Victorian England, not my thematic incorporation preference, but it's actually, believe it or not, the 85th ranked game on Board Game Geek at this time of the heavy ilk. So if you like this, people really like it as a whole in addition. It's probably too heavy for me. I wouldn't mind trying it once to kind of see and make sure, but otherwise it's an easy pass. They've got a couple videos here. Check it out if you want. And the other thing I mentioned or alluded to at the top of them breaking rules, I mean, they just go the Garfield route. They say, hey, you know what? We have a great retail side of things already, and we're not going to undermine the retail people who are selling our game in the first place. So if you want our retail expansion, base game, whatever else it looks like, go pick it up at retail. We're not going to sell additional copies on this campaign. So, you know what? I'm okay with that. And they should give a little shout out here for the other promotional products that can go along with it. Meeples, storage, and a shirt or two, and a few pins. So there you go. I mean, it's offered actually, like I said, at a good price. Just the coins here are going to be $21. But if you get both of them, I believe it's only $39. So that's actually a good deal for both, right? It's $28 for one, $21 for the other. That is $49. This is $39. So save $10. I mean, I guess that's not terribly different from Deadpool, but you know, it is what it is. I'm inconsistent at best. There you go, obsession. So, Morrison Game Factory. It's a puzzle. It's a tale. It's an escape room box that requires an internet usage app-based system. So, how do you feel about that? No spoilers, because you don't want to spoil the end game of this in the first place. They give you a little video that says they cut out all the spoilers in itself, but you can see how it actually plays. A few stretch goals of deluxifications that goes along with it, and a few quotes that'll tell you how much they loved it. So $39 gets you this. And the question just is, are you a fan of these? Because, I mean, they never cease to amaze me about how much money they get on crowdfunding. It's just whether or not it's ilk of your taste. My wife and I, not a huge interest, thankfully. I mean, for my wallet's sake. So there you go. Morrison Game Factory. Village of the Oak Dell, roll and write. I mean, this is a Euro level roll and write with 4 separate maps via the 4 seasons that you're slowly going to be exploring and dice rolling as you lay them out and start filling in your combo-licious Euro style mechanisms. And they run you through exactly how you're going to be progressing and adding new mechanics per map. And it's actually relatively well priced here at what, a €10 style of content. And you're going to get most of it released even by the end of the year. So, I mean, it's a print and play, right? What more do you want? They say it's a little bit heavier than your average ones. It probably falls right under the depth or the weight of something like Hadrian's Wall. So something in between there. And it gives you a little overview here about you rolling this dice in this Ramble-based system, where then essentially you place your worker in one of these, I don't want to say columns, but one of these areas, and you slowly work your way from the outer area, taking resources, to the inner area, and then filling in the subsequent resources that you're going to be taking, obviously creating combos in the whole Euro resource management style of things with a roll and write twist. A few videos that'll show you how it's done there, and then there you go. I mean, most of these roll and writes are probably well worth your money if you actually play these significantly and extensively enough 10 euros. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive than some of the ones we've seen recently, but I don't think it's inappropriately priced whatsoever. And from a euro spin, it's a little bit heavier, so I think there's definitely appeal there in the Hadrian's Wall meets Cartographer's Crowd, somewhere in between. So that's why it's got almost $6,000 at this point. There you go. Next up, we have Fall of Lumen from Toy Games. Their previous game, Legends of Void, is one that I actually owe them a review still on, but I will make the argument that that is probably the heaviest game I have ever played in my collection, right? It's like Terraforming Mars meets dark sci-fi fantasy on steroids. It's got so many mechanisms and it's got so much going on. So if you're looking for something and you thought Terraforming Mars was too light and too short and didn't offer you enough preferences, options, and everything else to go along with it, check out Legends of the Void. I'll be talking about it in the near future. But I didn't actually know Fall of Lumen was going to be launching. And they told me it was going to be coming up like in the future, but never knew when. This gives a different spin on the deck building area tableau management style because they've taken their complexity and they've imported into those mechanisms as a whole. And so what you've got going on here is a 45-minute per player game. And I may say those mechanisms and you go, that's Chris, that's light. They're estimating it at over a 3 on Board Game Geek. So that's not what you usually think of when you think of a deck builder, right? Because essentially what you're doing over a series of 6 rounds is you're going to be taking actions, up to 8 different actions per turn, one at a time, followed by basically instant actions, free actions, if you will, of your choosing up to, I think, the 3 or 4 options that there are. And you're going to go and do this around for 6 rounds, basically going through your deck, I think, each round until you can no longer play. And so as you're doing that, you're slowly going to build your tableau. You're going to be building your deck. You're going to be gathering victory points and area control on the board in the first place in order to achieve this, trying to obtain victory points via this double use card play that we've seen more recently, where you're either taking the action up at the top that you can discard it for, or the skill at the bottom, depending on how you want to utilize it. And so it's giving you a unique double way of playing every single card in your deck. And like Legends of the Void, they're saying, hey, if you want it, get it now, because if you aren't familiar with Legends of the Void, it's not available on the retail side of things. They didn't go wide retail. They went slightly deluxeified crowdfunding, period. Boom. So that's where this 60 euro is coming in. And it's going to be interesting to compare this one to Path of Destiny. I'm going to make the argument right now that Path of Destiny is probably going to be much lighter than this. I'm going to say it's probably in the low 2s. I don't know, but that'd be my wager. And this sticks true to their previous game in terms of the complexity as a whole. Now, the one thing I worry about is also being too complex. Complexity for the sake of complexity always worries me because, like I said, Legends of Void is probably the most complex game, heaviest game I've played. So that's saying something right there. So what you get to doing, very similar to Legends of Void, you're drafting your heroes, drafting the asymmetric starting conditions, including factions, and your starting decks with asymmetric cards that are going to be utilizable as you make your way across these outer lands, playing your skills, as I mentioned, and trying to, not have your plans ruined by the factor of Lumen that is basically your enemy in this game in the first place. Infiltration of said characters or agents within one of the 5 realms, as mentioned in the area movement, will get you victory points as well as additional income as you progress throughout the game in order to build your engine in the first place. There's no early bird, there's no stretch goals in that sense. Everything is there. And again, like I said, may be only available through Kickstarter, and I think Legends of Void is. So if you're concerned about that, you just need to know it. So the problem is it's also going to cost you probably a total of about 80 euros at this point. So that's expensive for a little bit. I don't want to say a lighter game. That's expensive, though, for a non-super deluxeified Euro style. So this is one that I think you need to watch a little bit of their gameplay. I think you need to look at the video and the rulebook that they have out there. They actually show a little bit of reprint add-on if you want right now to get this through the Pledge Manager. So hopefully I'll have my review out before the time this either finishes or the Pledge Manager opens up so you can have a little bit more information. Yeah, small company, putting out a good product. You just need to know whether or not it's right for you. And this is one where you're going to have to watch some video and read the rulebook to really get the sense of the flow. Now, foldable gaming tables. Again, gaming tables, a dime a dozen. This looks like a folding table that they've just adapted to a gaming top on top of it, right? It's got $1.6 million. And like all of these tables, they start off with a super low price of what, like $250, and then they make all of the add-ons essentially, extra, right? It comes with built-in rails and a carrying handle. This is a folding table with a little bit of deluxeification, folks. Nothing wrong with it, but this is also one of those where I wonder if you pay for what you get too, right? And I say that as someone who is usually quite frugal in my household expenses. but there's just sometimes you pay a little bit more, and I don't know if this is one of those or not. Gives you dimensions. It's nice, it's light, and portable. They show you this neoprene mat getting rolled out, and apparently if you are an early bird, you can get that for free, but really the next plus level up is going to cost you almost $150 extra more, just for cup holders, trays, and a few shelves around the outside. That's a lot of money for the extras right there, folks. That's where the margin is. It's not the table, it's the extras. So, plus another topper here for, what is that? What the difference? About $150 as well. Another topper for $150. I have no clue if that's a good price for a topper or not. So, two of them will get you that much, and they talk about the differences here. I'm going to let you look at the rest of this page, because this page is massive, has too much content on it, like these tables pages always do. I'll emote it here if you really want to get all of the little individual stuff or not. Take it for what it is. I have no idea. I'm not super enthralled by all of these. I mean, they seem to be coming out a dime a dozen, and how do you actually tell? I'm a big hands-on person when it comes to stuff like this. I have to see it, I have to sit down at it, I have to experience it, I need to feel the quality and know whether or not it's right for me in that sense, not order it sight unseen no matter what the price is. So that'd be the only thing I'd say, buyer beware from that standpoint. Here we go. Cryptid Cafe, the chef's apprentice, Devin. In case you're not familiar with Devin, he comments on my videos occasionally. He's also the gentleman over behind the Facebook group Board Game Hype. This is his first published game. And it's already, 2/3 of the way funded, and, shouldn't have any trouble funding, maybe even by the time you guys are viewing this video. So what you've got going on in the Chef's Apprentice is essentially you've got sort of a tableau building King Domino, if you will, if you're familiar with that, right? Because essentially what you're doing is you're drafting 2 of these tiles from several different rows available to you on a turn-by-turn basis from the market. But in order to get ones that are further back away from you in the market, you have to trash ones of them in front of it. And if you trash them, they go basically in your discard pile and you lose points at the end of the game, but it allows you to get maybe the ones that you want more preferentially. And King Domino-esque in the sense that you have to build a 4x4 grid, i.e. 16 different tiles, because you're drafting 2 per round over 8 rounds, right? See, I did the math there. And so that's what you're doing in this game, trying to build the tableau in order to get the most points maximized as you're plating these down adjacent to each other. But like I said, you can't have it more than a 4x4, so you need to plan accordingly. You have little prep tokens. I'm not sure if it was referring to the skillet or the spatula. I can't remember what it said in the rulebook, but essentially it allows you to manipulate your tiles in several different ways. I think you get 3 turns or 3 ways of doing that in order to rearrange or mitigate some of your mistakes that you may have made early on to allow you some flexibility. Garnishing is going to give you special powers to mitigate or even enhance. Well, I mean, that's kind of what a garnish does in the first place, right? Your other ways of scoring, but you're not going to have necessarily that available to you at all times. When and how you choose to do that, or when it's available, becomes more important. 8 rounds to score your tableau based off of the challenges that are incorporated in that game in the first place. So $39. There you go. That's it. That's all you need to know. I mean, a few add-ons here, a few dish packs that you can get as extras. I mean, that's a little expensive for a dish pack there. I mean, although it actually comes with 84 different, 84 tiles. That's okay. I thought it was going to be like 30 for $15. And then I would have said, 84 is actually a ton. I just worry about balance then if you're going to have that many. And not repetition between 84 of them. It's pre-stretched, 1 version. Yeah. So, there you go. Shipping is going to be that. So with the holiday packs, it's still going to be probably about $60. So that's the question. Is this game $60 worth for you on crowdfunding as well? And right now, 200 people are saying yes. So there you go. Check it out. Okay, let's do it. Til Death Do Us Part. Sinister strategy game for adults. Somehow. This has $33,000. I don't know. It's a gold digger game, folks. You're playing cards trying to cause your old married opposite to die faster to earn $150 million as the end game scoring objective, while playing cards to also increase the longevity and the health of other people's geriatric opposite so that theirs doesn't die. Personally speaking, I don't really like the theme whatsoever. I'm just not a fan of this, in any way, shape, or form. They're basically just playing cards, it says. And there's not really a whole lot of actual explanation, just that you play these cards and there's different ways of playing and there's different things that you're going to be doing alongside of it. And somehow the game length goes up over 100% when you add 1 player between the 3 and 4 player count. So take that for what you will. It's $37, I guess, which is Okay, if you like it. But somehow you can also pay $859 for the same thing if you want to actually join the game. A few stretch goals as well there. I'm done. Check it out if you're interested, though. Til Death Do Us Part. There you go. Now, Cubed Nostalgia. Kickstarter limited crazy face Dominoes. And you just play it like Dominoes, only they're hex-based instead of the rectangular base that you're used to. And you have to match both the symbol as well as the height of the symbol. And if you can't, or if somebody goes out, then you total up how many points you have or tokens you have left in front of you, and you want to have the least amount of points over a game, and they give you a little ghost expansion, which adds new symbols, is what it looks like. So I think I remember this covering the first time around, but this is expensive Dominoes, folks. And apparently people really like expensive Dominoes. So $22,000, but that's a massive funding goal of $55,000 as well. So Kickstarter FOMO limited Dominoes. There you go. Oh my gosh. Okay, Queen. Okay. Amsterdam. She's back. Essential Edition. Yeah, we saw that with the Bruges remake of Hamburg, right? We saw that with Marrakesh. And now we're getting the extra stock of Amsterdam. I hate to say that, but that's what a lot of these campaigns have been for Queen in the last 6 months. They've been basically using crowdfunding to sell off the extra stock. You know? Nothing's new here. They're offering new combos. They only have a $5,000 funding goal, and you have 51 people going in. And I'm not going to say that their prices are bad, because they're actually pretty decent, I believe. Amsterdam Essential Edition, $69. I know for sure that the last time Deluxe was offered on crowdfunding, it was more than $129. So, I mean, like I said, not a bad deal. You're getting the mini expansion, you're getting the original one with it. But apparently, at the time of me filming this, there's only 3 of those left. So take that for what you will. And you can get some Marrakesh to go along with it as well, including their expansion from one of their most recent campaigns, which leads me to go back and see their other campaigns. Well, just literally this is run, and now Queen has 2 game accounts, I believe, on Kickstarter. So some of the other Kingdom Builder stuff that ran recently, or their other one, I forget what it was, but I don't know if it canceled or if it just, you know, went through and it was one of their other reprints, but it's not even on this page. So yeah, Red Palace, again, Red Palace is being in the process delivered. That one's on my radar, but I mean, 6 updates in a year of the production side of things till delivery. So take that for what you will. Expansion content, nothing new, nothing different. 2 videos on the page. It runs you through all of the 1,642 pieces that you need. And that's it. I don't know. Are you really looking for a deluxeified version of this or not? I think this is the one that has sort of people kind of interested, but not as much interested. It kind of fell between the cracks of Hamburg and Marrakesh. Marrakesh overshadowed basically anything that wasn't named Hamburg in the first place after it came around. So, and I'm not really sure how Hamburg has stood up. I haven't played mine since I got it in the first place, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it. I should probably just sell it, because let's be frank, I'm not going to play it. I'm not going to. Even though I like the idea of it. I thought I was going to like it more than I did as a, you know, looking at Bruges from the outside in. But I am not sold, and so it will probably be sold. Next. What do we got going on? Punish. Lightning-paced dueling game. Essentially, you have like 5 different types of cards, and you're just going to play them. And you play them over 4 rounds, and at the end of 4 rounds, if nobody has lost all 3 of their hit points, then you go and do a whole nother round where you draw up 5 cards, flip over the 2 in the discard pile, so there's not exactly all of the cards used, but you still have perfect information of what's going to be available to you, and then you just rinse and repeat until somebody loses. And the only thing I'll say is, I mean, I think you have a decent concept here. You have the action cards, you have the unique slayers that gives your character an asymmetric head-to-head ability, but you know, you've got nothing on the page. You know, you say, okay, well, great, check over on our website if you actually want to see how to play. Like, there's not a ton of info on this page. I don't know why you can't just port most of this over onto the game page itself. I think that's just kind of, I hate to say laziness, but it is. Because if you really want to get people interested, tell them how to play your freaking game. Especially if it's that short, right? Get people in. You know, come on. Do it. And you'll get a lot closer to this $5,000 funding goal. Because people like this sort of thing. I like this sort of thing in this one versus one player dueler. But there you go. Punish. So going back over to GameFound here, we have FlickFleet, a new expansion called the Box of Pirate Flicks. So if you're not familiar, this is kind of what FlickFleet is right here on this picture, right? You have these ships that you're going to be putting into position, and then you're going to be flicking pieces off of them to attack your opponent's ships in this 1 versus 1 highly tactical, dexterity-based game. Not available at retail, period. It's a small indie company. They're adding more to the Pirates faction as they did with the original box of Flicks 2. And they're going to be doing stretch goals to just give it more content as a whole. I mean, this is what you're getting, right? And they're going to be different shapes. There's going to be different forms, different attributes, different sort of things to go along with it with all of these other expansions, right? Asteroids, different civilians, different size ships, different objectives, just new different ways of playing and giving you everything along the lines of things you may be considering. And you can see here a little bit of a blown up picture. They run you through what some of the original fleet box has in the first place. And you can see how the shapes differ and how it's going to be maneuverable. And it runs you through what each of the pledges is going to be. Standard, deluxe. And again, it's an indie game. You're going to pay a lot more of a premium product rather than anything else. But it's not going to be widely available at retail. It just isn't. So is this dexterity flicking space themed pirate now game interesting to you? There you go. But I mean, like I said, standard edition, even for one of these boxes, is going to cost you over £50 after shipping. That's not inexpensive, folks. So it's got a good following. I mean, this is probably their 5th or 6th crowdfunding campaign. Although I believe most of their crowdfunding campaigns prior to this were over on Kickstarter. So yeah, let's see. What are we actually at the time of me funding this? I didn't even look. Let's see. Yep. 12,000 pounds of their 2,000 pound goal. So there you go. People like it. Eurodice Games. Check it out. Now we have Hydra. Literally on the day of me filming this, I just got Wormgold's other game. I just got Pagan Fate of Roanoke in the mail today. Super effing hyped to play that game. And then they launched Hydra, because they announced it in one of the last updates. And I didn't know when it was going to be launching. It was on my radar. So €50 though. Woo! For this light, semi-cooperative card-driven game where you have several different actions in your disposal to slowly take out pieces of this Hydra from encroaching on the city. And that's going to depend on like melee or harpoon or moving. You're going to be teleporting yourself around, and you're going to be kind of doing it in a cooperative nature, like, you know, communicating, hey, I'm going to do this. How about you do that on your turn? Or, hey, I'm going to do this. And hey, why don't you go first? But you're also going to be trying to score individual victory points based on how much damage you do to the Hydra versus other people. So that's what you're going to be trying to balance in a semi-cooperative nature. So you really need to check out the gameplay here. The rulebook is fine. The rulebook is on the page here. You can get a sense of your asymmetric character that you're going to be utilizing the card-based action systems, but then you're also going to be playing, as you can see, these have 2 different styles there. The one that you do not choose, or the actions you do not choose on your turns as a group, then those are the pieces that actually will take place of the Hydra's actions as a dynamic that it's going to give you. So yeah, you go until someone scores enough points, or you play until the end of the game, and if the Hydra hasn't defeated the town, then you figure out who has the most victory points as a whole. Yeah, I mean, it's a lighter-ish game, and it's a little bit of a heavier-ish price. So there you go. There's the rulebook on there. They have one gameplay video. I don't know. I'm a backer of their previous one, Woodland Wizard, which was their prior campaign to this after the second Fate of Roanoke expansion content. And so I'm just not as enthralled with this one, even though I love the aesthetic aspect. It's expensive for what it is, and this one has a little bit, for me, try before buy more than anything else at this point, but I think you can actually try it online if you want to. So there you go. I.D.E.A, the Improbable Dungeons Eccentric Adventures. Somehow you have 100 people spending $124, which, by the way, is still about half of the price of the average pledge of Dice Throne right now at the time of me filming this. Take that for what you will. They've got sort of a roll and move style action corridor crawl, if you will. Good guys, bad guys, roll dice, choose strategy. I don't know. There's just no info on the page. This one and the next one. You get your asymmetric hero. You roll to see what board you're going to go on. You draw a random card off of the top of a deck. You look for enemies in the shadows with another die. You get to roll 3 dice and choose one action that corresponds to those dice. And somehow you're going to be getting loot and fighting a boss at the end. That's it. I can scroll down, but all this picture is what's in the different pledge levels. The retail, the early bird deluxe, the Kickstarter exclusive, the super utter deluxe. That's it. Add-on packs. There's no other gameplay content. There's no rulebook at the time of me filming this. There's just not anything else to really go off of. So it's a lot of money that people are putting out for, you know, a product that I'm kind of surprised by from someone who is also a first-time creator and zero back. So, I mean, check it out if you're interested. But, you know, give me some more info, because that's not a small amount of money to be thrown at it without that much more information. Red Dragon Inn allies. 2 new allies that are going around with the original Red Dragon Inn. Not the co-op adventure dungeon crawl one, but the original Dragon Inn. You want to know how to play the Red Dragon Inn? Too bad! There's nothing on the page except for you can see what's the content-wise and the characters' names and what you're going to be getting in a few add-ons of Metal Runes. And you can try it on Tabletopia, I believe, or no, Tabletop Simulator. And that's it! Boom! You got to go play the Red Dragon Inn original game as sort of a press your luck, take that style pseudo card based drinking game, if you will. Be the last one not inebriated and knocked out and having the most gold at the end. That's it. There you go. And because I forgot to cover it last week, even though I totally prepped for it, Flame and Fang, cooperative dragon based, choose one of 3 ways of going up in this cooperative 1 to 4 player game. What are you going to be doing though? Well, you're deck building by upgrading your dragon through these 45 unique powers that are going to be at your disposal. There's 3 different aspects that you're going to be playing, and how and when you choose each one is going to be very important, as well as interacting with the 3 resources that are going to either allow you to draw extra cards, extra actions, or convert cards to give you more flexibility on a turn-by-turn basis. So what you're doing essentially on your turn is you're choosing one of those 3 aspects, and you can only then play cards that include that aspect in the first place. And then you're going to be playing this over a 8-chapter scenario-driven campaign with slowly unlocking card content as you go along. There's going to be a secret deck that's going to change the game at any time, and they give you, again, a very nice rules overview here with the page available. If you want to have some previews, they got plenty of previews right here that you can check out. You know, that's preview with a P. They show you what's in the box, and it's going to be $39. So, nice little indie game, Escape Velocity. I'd say, you know, I want to try before I buy. I guess, you know, me missing it last week. In the meantime, they funded, so they're doing well. Check it out. There you go. Look, I told you I was going to ruffle some feathers this week, you know? I'm really trying to play nice in the sandbox. At the same time, part of me also just wants to get away from the stereotypical board game media of everything is nice. Everything is a 7 to 8.5 out of 10 review-wise, and you should buy everything that you want sight unseen because every game is awesome. Every game is awesome! Lego movie, anybody? Sorry, that's what it feels like nowadays. And I try not to get away with that. I'm just, you know, I'm thinking about just switching up my review format altogether. Just doing a ton of top-down stuff, and then, you know, even framing it in the sense, because you guys like this. You guys really like the concept of the one that I did earlier in the week of the don't buy the retail, right? I march you through 10-ish games and I say, don't buy these. So, you know, maybe I'm just going to, it's just, I want to be countercultural, right? I want to do something different. I am not clearly at this point, right? Like everybody else. I don't fully mean that as a compliment to myself either there. But I'm just scared, to be frank. You know, if I start framing reviews of whatever it is, right? And say, don't buy this game because X, Y, and Z. Part of it, you know, is going to be more like the So Very Wrong About Games, right? Because that's essentially kind of, I think, what they did. Was they said, you know, this is the fault with this game. But at the same time, if you're okay with those faults, you know, just like I said in the retail video, don't buy these games. But if you absolutely can deal with my criticisms and overcome those, then go ahead. But I'm thinking of just really doing that heavy. Now, I've got like half a dozen reviews already filmed, so obviously none of those would be in that format. And, you know, like with some of these campaigns recently, man, you know, I have plenty of people willing to send me stuff, but, you know, the grass is always greener, right? It's always greener on the other side. So I'm trying to temper that myself as well. Because, you know, I would have loved to be in on that Roxley tournament, right? Roxley's thrown a Dice Throne Marvel X-Men tournament with like people and their, you know, people on Twitch and, you know, a couple people from bigger name channels. And I would have loved to do something like that. That's like pipe dream for me. I've never really been able to participate or never had anyone interested in letting me participate in anything like that. Never gone on anyone's Twitch channel. The only collaboration I've ever done was the one earlier this year with Alex. Hope he still likes me. I haven't heard anything since then, you know, positive or negative, but I always get that in my own head, right? That like I just completely blew my shot with anything, right? So, same thing with Go On Board, right? With this Witcher game. Like, I covered their previous Witcher game. And even same thing with Awakened Realms, the Dragon Eclipse one. So, maybe in the future. If not, too, that's okay. I'm going to keep doing my thing. And hopefully, you can also let me know in the comment section down below. Hopefully this video quality is a little bit better. I did some fine tweaking of the video. Again, like some of the videos that will be coming out over the next week or two still that I've pre-recorded prior to me tweaking the settings aren't going to be as setting-wise optimized, but hopefully this is better. And if it's not, I apologize, because I'm trying. I am a one-man filming, playing, learning the rule book, editing, marketing, media team all in one, right? So when people are like criticizing it, they're like, man, this isn't good enough. And I'm like, right? I'm doing it all between the hours of 9 and 11 p.m. after my kids go to bed, before I go to bed. So there's only so much you can do. But I have a couple reviews, like I mentioned, that I need to get filmed. I have Station Fall sitting right over there next to me. I have Legends of the Void in the cabinet over there that I talked about with this video of the Fall of Lumen from Toyd Games. I've got another one, Maximum Apocalypse here. I think we're going to be throwing a couple of these together. Globetrotting from R2I Games. I did that one. Princess of Florence from WizKids, the remake of that one. Again, I've got a bunch of this. Sail over there from Board Game Tables, which we'll be talking about tomorrow, because they're throwing up their new trio campaign, including Through the Freaking Desert. You think I'm gonna go for Through the Desert, folks? Right? So there's a good chance I'll be back in that. But absolutely, the 24th is massive. I'll be highlighting two of those games, especially in the next coming days over the weekend, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, between Source, which is the Heroescape-esque version, as well as Old King's Crown, which gives me sort of Zuvatus meets Oriflamme in a more aggressive style, if you will. You'll understand it when you see it. But those two games are going to be highly charged, and people are going to be very interested in that. And that's not to mention like the three other games that are launching on that same day. The 24th may be the biggest individual day of the year. And mind you, even at the time of me filming this, we don't have a date yet for DC Zombicide. I've been waiting for that other shoe to drop now any minute or any day. I call my shot all the time. Like, I was hoping I was going to make 10K by the end of the year. Which is weird, right? Like, I just never go viral. Like, I see all these other channels, as a side note here at the very end. Like, they have 20,000 subscribers. Or they have 7,000 subscribers. And all of a sudden, they have this video that's got like 20,000 views at the 7,000. Or 70,000 on the 20,000 subscribers. And I'm like, man, I just am not that interesting. Dagger to the heart. And it actually works this time because I'm wearing the One Piece heart shirt. So, that's all I got. That's all I got. Rant, ramble, rave, over. Over. Peace out. Have a great freaking day for all three of you that made it this far. See you around.